We have plenty of other material.
Want to do an intro, Becky?
Welcome back to the Two Joes podcast.
Welcome back.
Main Joe here, Mojo to my right, and Becky Huff to my left.
Hey.
AKA Peaches. I'm sitting here with a couple of authors I found out. Last podcast evening, Dojo was telling me how good of a writer Mojo is. He asked me if I've ever read any of his stuff, and I just found out a little while ago that Peaches over here has written over 100, or is it exactly 100, short stories on her Instagram account, which is...
written or recorded or...
Written, dude. Check this out. She's going to tell you all about it here.
Yeah.
At what Instagram again?
Bridging.Humanity.
Check it out, people. Tell me all about it.
Yeah, so it was just this very organic thing that came into my life. So I started, I was preparing a presentation for 6th graders, and I came across this thing called 30-day challenges to enlightenment. And it kind of follows Buddhist philosophies about enlightenment and kind of taking yourself to a higher place in life. And
love it.
Yeah, and they're amazing challenges. So I kind of felt like maybe 30 were too many for me.
Yeah.
So I pared it down to 12, and the plan was to focus on one challenge each month of 2019.
Very
so
cool.
the challenges are something that you have to do every single day for that month. So January was a 30-minute walk outdoors. February was to watch a TED Talk every single day and then post my insights. And then March was to interview a stranger. Mm-hmm. And really it was talk to a stranger, but I talk to strangers every day anyway. So I thought it wouldn't challenge me enough. And so I thought I will interview a stranger, get their story, a piece of their story, ask them a key to happiness in life, a piece of life advice, and then take their picture. So in the beginning, it scared me. It terrified me to approach a stranger and ask them to engage with me in that way.
Absolutely.
So like down here in downtown Salt Lake, just any random stranger?
Well, I was thinking you did this when you were out working with all these wonderful people.
I do that as well.
Okay.
So it really is just wherever I am.
And you just see, you're meeting all these people.
Yeah.
And does it have to be like, boy, that person's really interesting to me? Or is it just, I got to get this done today and I have, that kind of thing?
Yeah, sometimes
you're
both.
there, let's do it.
Yeah, sometimes both. And I've
Yeah.
had some moments where I will see someone and as weird as this sounds, there's just this sense that that's my person. That's
Very
my person. Cool. And the cool thing, so it was just supposed to be the month of March.
Uh-huh.
And then I started noticing just these amazing shifts in the way I was thinking and the way I was viewing people, and just kind of what's the word, demything? I guess like stereotypes.
Oh, there you go. I like that.
Yeah. And maybe like groups that are largely misunderstood. I was starting to gain like greater insights.
I like this.
So, and then I had people, so I was posting on Facebook originally, and I had people reaching out saying, I know this is just supposed to be 1 month, but I want you to continue doing this because it's changing the way I look at people. And
how cool is that?
So ultimately I decided I just need to keep doing this. This needs to continue being part of my life. Keep the content
coming. Keep it coming. You will be discovered. We will find you. You will be found.
Thank you. I hope so. And not for me, right? Not so that I become this popular person, but
service before self.
Yeah.
You're trying to help people demystify and de-vilify people. I think I've mentioned this on podcasts in the past. It's like the politicians, they want to vilify a certain genre of people or a certain race or whatever. And it's like, you know what? People are people. I've met people from Iran, from Canada, from Mexico.
Everywhere.
Wonderful, wonderful people.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's probably been the number. I have learned so many lessons, you guys, doing this. Powerful, powerful lessons. I think the one that was very first for me and that continues to be this common thread is that underneath everything, underneath poverty and wealth, underneath race, underneath gender, abortion,
religion, politics,
everything is a human being.
Yeah.
Right? And in that sense, we are all the same and we're connected, right?
We are connected.
These divisions that are so prevalent that everybody sees.
Don't believe them, people. We're all connected, whether you believe it or not.
We all want the same things, really.
Absolutely.
And everyone has a story. So
what are the 6 magic words, Becky?
I'm going to tell you.
Please.
Because this has been powerful for me as well. So I think if we all, if each individual human could, when they see someone, instead of saying, I can't believe they do that, I can't believe they live that way. Can't believe the choices they obviously made. Yeah. If we would change that phrase to, I wonder what their story is.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah.
6 words.
Simple.
Yep. I wonder what their, and I find myself doing that everywhere I am now. I wonder what their story is.
Wow.
And that takes us from a place of judgment to a place of curiosity.
Yes.
And if we're willing to explore that curiosity, it takes us from a place of curiosity to connection and compassion. It is this amazing journey in just 6 words. If we would practice those 6 words.
Let me try it out here.
Okay, try it.
So I'm coming to the podcast tonight.
Here we go.
Yes.
More or less on time.
Okay.
And I've got to stop at the 7-Eleven, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I notice this car to my left is starting to come into my lane. I'm like, okay, maybe she's just drifting over the center line a little bit. Oh no, she's coming. Brake!
Uh-huh.
Wonder what her story is.
Well, yeah, instead of you gone.
Exactly.
What's up with you?
Maybe she's coming back from the hospital and is dealing with something heavy and had her
coming back from her mom's funeral.
She was preoccupied.
Yes.
She didn't check her blind spot.
She ate a bad burrito. To the hospital.
Yeah.
Or maybe she just got really bad news. It really.
Or maybe she got 2 hours of sleep because she worked a double shift at the hospital.
Yeah.
Or,
It's so many possibilities. And if we knew that, right, if we knew that piece of her story, we would be much more likely to let go of that slide, right?
Manjo, marker, T-shirt. I wonder what their story is. Not bad. 6 words on the T-shirt.
I don't know why we need to marker that though.
Just so we can remember it. Just so we can.
Yeah. Okay. Just say T-shirt.
T-shirt marker.
Yeah. It has been this amazing, and I've had people say, my aunt said, I was down in Vegas. She reads every single post, and she said, I was down in Vegas for a soccer tournament for one of my kids, and I found myself passing judgment, and I stopped, and I said, Barbara,
how in what way? If I may try to embarrass you, how were you passing judgment?
No, this was my aunt sharing this with me, so she didn't give me details.
Okay.
Yeah, she was down in Vegas.
Thank you.
So she said, she was looking at people and caught herself passing judgment, and she stopped and just said, Barbara, you don't know their story. You don't know their story. And she said it just totally shifted the energy in her body and the way that she was viewing these people. And she didn't even have to know their story for it to have that shift, right?
Interesting.
Just if we're willing to stop ourselves from judging and instead just wonder.
A sense of wonder. Yeah. Keep that alive in yourself.
Yeah.
I back in the day, I tried to sell life insurance, right? And I had to have a job. And this guy said, I can show you how to sell life insurance. It's no big deal. So we would drive across North Dakota, visiting these different farmers and stuff. And he was the master at taking one look at someone, and he could lay out a story. It probably wasn't true.
Sure.
But it sure sounded plausible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, that guy over there, he just bought that tractor not too long ago, and he's probably, making payments on it and this and that.
I love it.
I'd tell you, he was a master storyteller of someone else's story who he just saw, never even met. And it was just really quite fascinating. So I had a great time learning how to sell life insurance, and then I stopped. Because he was so much fun to hang out with. As soon as he stopped hanging out with me, you're good to go on your own now. And I was like, well, this isn't any fun.
It lost the magic. Completely. Yeah. Yeah. It's been a cool journey. A really cool journey. So I have not done any of my other month challenges. They kind of stopped, and I just kept going with this.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been really neat.
May I ask, Becky, what did you do to earn a living before you worked for the school district?
So I worked in private adoptions for a few years. I've worked in adult mental health, and then I worked in a different school district working with youth in custody, and then at-risk youth. I was at an alternative high school.
So your entire career pretty much has been service.
Yeah, social work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is service.
Yeah.
Your whole career. So did you know this from a young age, or at some point in your growing up, in high school years, maybe, even college years? Would you say, have you always been so dedicated, or were you a little shithead at times?
Both.
Both? Yeah.
Yeah, I think from a very young age, I have been aware of perhaps those around me who are marginalized or,
a young
or maybe
age,
just disadvantaged.
we're talking like 10, 12 years old, or you were 15?
Probably even, I think even younger, honestly. Yeah, just aware of maybe some of the elderly people in my neighborhood who were lonely. And so I would go visit. I had a couple elderly women.
Wow.
They also gave suckers. That might have been some motivation.
Yeah, the candy jar was always great. The butterscotch. I loved the butterscotch.
Yes, and I loved the suckers, but also they're just from a really young age, there just has been this desire to like connect with humans and I don't know, like to just help hurting hearts.
That's awesome.
In
Wow.
any way. And there's lots of hurting hearts out there.
I believe that.
Many.
Yeah.
Many.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of dodged me a little bit there, Becky, because
I had my years where I was a little difficult. Yeah.
If I may, Main Joe, if I can describe it for you, Becky and I were having a corn dog, and she described one of her not so great incident where she would fold her arms and refuse to communicate and just be a little.
Let me guess, 14, 15?
It probably started about 12 and went to probably.
Oh, is it okay?
17,
So it wasn't.
maybe.
Oh, I thought this was one time in the principal's office. No, okay.
No,
Those are tough ages. You know?
They are.
My daughter just turned 15.
Yeah. Lots of kids get lost in those years. They just get lost. And
you were lost for like a couple of years then?
Yeah.
I mean, but you never like shoplifted and did drugs and you know, arson and stuff. Did you really?
Not arson.
Okay.
I never set anything on fire, but I'm going to plead the fifth on the first two.
There you go.
Fair enough.
I had a fair amount of years where I was pretty lost. But even in those years,
you had good family around you.
Well, I did. And even in those years, there was still this awareness of others who were also lost or who perhaps were more lost or hurting even more like. And the cool thing is, I think that it was just one of my personality traits I was born with, but my parents really nurtured that in me because my parents are very much like this, both of them, just aware of people and willing to sacrifice.
Do they do similar service? Do they travel and do chainsaws and sheetrock and stuff like you do? No.
But, you know, if my mom sees someone in her neighborhood who's in need, she will secretly, you know, put some money in an envelope and leave it on a porch.
That's a skill. Wow. To recognize that, to be aware enough to recognize what's going on is a skill.
Yeah.
I equate it with a young lady gets in a relationship with a guy and he somehow comes up with a brilliant idea to give her a gift on their 30th day anniversary or something, you know, something just thoughtful.
Yeah.
Just being thoughtful, looking around, seeing what might be needed, whether it is or not, doesn't matter.
Yes.
But you think, okay,
just
there
awareness.
might be a need here.
Yeah.
The awareness of what's going on around you.
Yes. Yep. And both of my parents are that way. And I think like nurtured that in me. If I came to my mom and said, hey, there's this boy at school who doesn't have clothes. He wears the same clothes every day. And we did not have money growing up. But if I came to my mom with something like that, she would find a way to get some clothing so that I could act on that. And so it was very much, I think I am very much a product of my mom and dad and their willingness to nurture that piece.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it's that way to this day.
Yeah.
Same. The word I want to use here is altruistic. I love the word altruistic.
Yeah, it's a good word.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just love people. I don't know. I just love people.
I tend to like them too.
Yeah.
I really do.
Which is good, right?
Well, I think it is good. I know there are people out there that don't care for people so much. And and I met someone the other day who basically said, I don't care for people all that much. And it kind of like shook me a little bit.
Yeah.
I was like, really? Oh, so sad.
Really? You don't like
I wonder
people?
I feel sad for him, but maybe instead of feeling sad for him, I wonder what his story is.
That'd be
maybe there's a good reason why he's that way.
Yeah. And truly, if he were willing to sit down and share his story,
that would be a great podcast.
Right? And really it would probably shed a lot of light and create some compassion, right? Yeah.
True.
Yeah. About how he got to the place he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of water under the bridge. A lot of things happen.
Indeed. And Becky, also, may I say, you have an extremely pleasing radio voice. You really do.
Thank you.
It's very easy to tell that you're a female. Very easy, but man, it's like.
I think that's probably a good thing.
That's a compliment, right?
Well, I don't know if it is.
Thank you, Mojo.
Well done, Peaches.
Have you ever been to Africa?
I have.
Can you tell me about that story?
Yeah. I was in Zambia. I was with an organization called Mothers Without Borders.
Interesting. Never heard of them again.
Yeah, so I went with them. I was there 3 weeks.
MWB, you bet. Yeah, I'm tight.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So no, you're good. So they do amazing work. The founder, I don't know how many trips she has done, but she has created. It's called the Children's Resource Center, the CRC, and so they go out and actively find street children who maybe have been disconnected from their families from one thing or another.
All ages.
Yeah, well, children. So I'm
like 6 to 12, something. Or
I think up to 18. They can be there up to 18. Don't quote me on that.
It just might be easier with the younger ones. The older ones might say, I don't need you kind of thing.
Yeah. But they do beautiful work. So in addition to having the CRC, which is largely set up like a family unit, and they have chores and, they're fed and their schooling happens there. They also go into some of the mountain villages and do, education pieces and teach the women crafts that they can take to market and medical
Very
clinics.
Cool.
And
wow.
Crafts to take to market.
Yeah.
To improve their life, to lift the floor up.
Yes.
And do something. Yeah.
And what are we talking about here, Mojo?
Oh, man.
One of your pets?
Yeah, Christopher Hitchens. We're talking Christopher Hitchens now.
No, we're talking education, dude.
Yes, exactly.
Education. Educate them how to take care of themselves, how to maybe make something that you can sell. I mean, the reason I brought up Africa was I saw this TED Talk the other day. This guy said, here's a solution. I've talked to, Mojo and I've talked about this a lot, how, if we stop fossil fuels tomorrow, I'm sorry, it's too late. That's not enough.
Sure.
But I'm looking for hope out there. I'm thinking we need technology to clean out this carbon. Well, this guy on a TED Talk was saying, here's a solution. He's figured out that the reason Africa's deserts are getting bigger and the it's turning into desert is because there's not enough livestock out there. There's not enough poop falling to help stuff grow. And so it's just drying up and all this. And when the water falls, because they have their rainy seasons and everything, there's not enough vegetation there to hold any of the water, and it just goes right back up. So he's been through it, man. This guy was like, back in the day, I did this big report saying that, there's too many elephants. We're going to have to harvest some elephants to save the grasslands. And he was dead wrong. Yeah. The elephants were why the grasslands were there in the first place.
It's like that compost,
right? This guy was like, the audience was just like loving him so much. And I think he was still feeling the weight of that burden, because after he launched that report and a follow-up report said, yeah, he's right, they harvested like 40,000 elephants. And he says, that's something I got to take with me to my grave. And you could tell it just weighted on him. But then he decided he's going to dedicate his life to figuring out the real reason why the grasslands were going away. And then he figured out, well, it's because there's not enough livestock out there grazing and laying down poop and making the soil fertile and letting things grow.
It's got to be churned.
And then he started showing us all these examples. There was this family in Mexico. Their farm was drying up. And he said, look, this is what you got to do. Take your livestock out here. You let them have fun and poop and do all that stuff. And then it was magical, the before and after pictures he was showing me. Crazy.
And it's so cool that he didn't let the initial defeat or mistake stop him, right? That he continued and then found this solution.
Always the compassionate perspective.
But really,
so
like
cool,
that he learned from his mistake and actually did something with that instead of just feeling bad.
Learning from mistakes.
Or just trying to get more views on the YouTube channel. Whatever. He could have gone either way.
Right.
But he recognized his mistake. That's one of the coolest things I've ever heard. Richard Dawkins, evolutionary biologist, many theories. He was giving a lecture one time. No, he was witnessing a lecture one time of a professor who announced to his class of 200 saying, I have been following this one theory for the last 15 years. Today, I was given evidence that it is wrong, and I am grateful to be proven wrong. Now, I have a greater perspective.
Yeah,
It's
like
a
such
wonderful
humility in that,
humility
right?
15 years he defended this one theory. Says, oh, it's dead wrong. I'm sorry. How do you apologize for that, by the way?
It's tough.
Right,
How do you apologize?
And that's why, this guy, like I said, he was not giving himself any credit, man. The audience gave him a standing ovation, dude, because it's so hopeful. Oh my gosh, we know what to do to save these grasslands and to create new ones in deserts, and he was like, but anyway. So that's why I brought up Africa, because I know they're doing it in Africa. They're teaching them, they're educating them how to do this. I just don't think it's on a big enough scale yet. So if you ever go back to Africa, I'll send you that. I'll put on the description below this podcast. I'll put the link to that TED Talk. You'll be amazed. It's so cool.
You've only been to Zambia then? Just Zambia?
Yeah, Zambia. I mean, we spent 1 or 2 days in Botswana.
Okay.
Doing some sightseeing, some safaris.
In a hotel or in a hammock or in a cot somewhere? Where did you stay in Botswana?
So in Botswana, we stayed in hostels both places, Zambia and Botswana. We stayed in hostels, yeah. What
was your group? You and a friend, or you and a group?
I went by myself. I mean, I was with an organization, but I didn't know a soul. I just showed up, and of course, I made friends. But that's how most of my trips have been. I just haven't known anyone. But then you come back knowing so many amazing people.
Man, Joe, when Becky is a huge podcast star, we're going to be able to say she got her start right here.
Absolutely.
She got her start right here. You were by yourself.
So nice.
You were by yourself. You traveled there by yourself.
Well,
with a backpack?
I met up with the group at the airport.
Okay.
So I traveled to Africa with this group. I just didn't know anyone in the group. But I did do my very first solo travel last summer to Ecuador.
Summer of 2018.
Yeah.
What month?
Did
you tell me about this? Was it Workaway? Was it workaway.com?
Yes.
That was it? You told me about this. Yes.
Another cool thing.
Yes.
You basically...
Please go. The platform is yours,
Okay,
Becky.
Workaway is amazing. So workaway.info is the website.
Okay.
You sign up, I think it's $35, and then you have access to hosts all over the world who will host you. So they will provide room and board in exchange for volunteer work. So I went to Ecuador, flew by myself, didn't know a soul, showed up, got in a taxi, hoping that they were actually going to take me to my hostel.
Wow.
And then I worked at a hostel for 3 weeks right on the beach. It was a kite surfing beach.
3 weeks.
Nice.
3 weeks on the beach.
Yeah.
What were your duties? How early did you have to rise to accomplish your duties?
So you were working at the hostel you were staying in.
Yes. And so my stay at the hostel was free, and then my meals were free, and I worked 5 hours a day.
In exchange for?
5 hours a day, 5 days a week. So 25 hours a week.
Wow.
On the beach.
Clearing tables and clearing the beach and
So my
taking pets for walks?
I did. I took the dogs for walks on the beach.
Whose dogs?
That was
Like
part of my
guests?
work. The hostel had some pets. The hostel actually had maybe 5 or 6 dogs and maybe like 30 cats.
Wow. My kind of hostel.
Are you a cat lady, Becky?
No, you guys, I'm not a pet person.
Oh.
So when I saw that, and when the owner responded to my request and said, I just want to make sure you know that we have lots of dogs and cats, there was this piece of me that thought, Bex, this is not our jam. And then, right?
T-shirt.
Right?
T-shirt, this is not our jam. Marker. Bex, well done.
But then the bigger part of me, the part of me that loves growth and development, said, no, this is our jam, because this is going to put us outside of our comfort zone.
Nice.
And we will get there, and we will adapt to something that was not comfortable for us at one point. And so I did. I would wake up, and I had the early shift. I would clean up all the dog and cat poop around the grounds.
Wow.
I would take the dogs for a walk on the beach. So
How many?
sometimes 3 or 4 dogs.
3 or 4, yeah. Mm-hmm.
This person that this is not my jam. I'm walking all the dogs on the beach.
On the
Wow.
beach.
Yeah, it was amazing. It's right at dawn, and so it's beautiful, and it's quiet and peaceful. And
Was it high tide or low tide?
hard
good.
question.
So can you say the name of the town?
Yes, I was in Santa Marianita.
Okay. Haven't heard of it.
Listen to how she said.
I know.
Marianita.
I want to go look that up. Actually, my daughter, not my daughter, My sister-in-law is from Ecuador.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then my brother and her just went back to Ecuador to visit relatives this last summer.
Okay. It's lovely there.
It looks lovely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Lovely people.
Ecuador looks
Yes.
like a great place to retire.
There are actually
I wonder.
lots of people, lots of expats there.
I wonder.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
cool.
met many of them. So that was completely solo. Didn't know
That's so awesome.
Didn't know a single person.
Workaway.info.
Yeah,
is
it's
where you found that.
amazing.
Have you done
amazing.
other engagements through that website?
No, I'm hoping to go to Samoa next summer for
Samoa.
2 months.
Samoa.
Wow.
But they
Talk
have
about lovely people. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I went to a wedding reception the other weekend and they had some people there doing hula dances and stuff like that. And they're just so funny,
Beautiful.
so warm and engaging.
Yep, friendly.
Yeah.
Their culture is beautiful.
Yeah.
The music, the food. Yeah, I love the
I'm
Polynesian
jealous.
cultures.
She's going.
It's happening.
I am in love with Becky Huff. I'm in love with this woman.
Peaches.
Peaches. Yes. I mean, and she's only, what, 36 years old now? Only about 36?
About 36.
Almost around there, around
Yeah,
36.
Almost 39. But that's about 36. If you flip the 6 upside down, you've got a 9.
There you go.
Main Joe, this is the launch pad for two Joes right here. She's going to have many more adventures, many more interesting interactions.
Oh,
and
the stories are going to keep coming. That's
and
what podcasts
just-
are about, or
yeah.
storytelling
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
most
Bring
part.
this
You
out.
know?
Becky, please share with us. Please.
Yeah, anytime.
I will.
Anytime.
I will. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Thanks for having me.
Very cool.
Good break?
Good time for a break.
Okay.
How many did we do that time? Was it more or less?
About the same.
Oh, how about an outro, Becky? Thank you for joining us on the Two Joe podcast.
Thank you for joining us on the Two Joe podcast.
We look forward to seeing you again.
We look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you.
I'm just going to edit out all of Mojo's prompts. It's going to sound great.
It will. It'll sound great.
I'm like, it's like my mind.